for the first Oops All Tangents, can we just talk about how the Sound of Music is the most boring title known to man?
I'm gonna take that as a confirmation that my title is the best.
It's gonna work, yeah.
With the sound of music.
It's called
Welcome
music.
everyone to this podcast that has now started, I've decided.
Oh, are we recording?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I would have sung more.
You should definitely let Rachel and I harmonize the intro to this song.
Oh, that would be fun.
We should definitely figure out a jingle. What
Yeah,
did
we
you
should.
originally have?
For the Superhero Chicken Fest podcast?
Yeah, the little.
I just thought we would change it up every time and it was
Superhero
always
Chicken
ridiculous.
Fest.
Yeah, it was just chanting
Oh.
my name.
Superhero Chicken Fest!
What is the is it still named Superhero Chicken Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main podcast. Right now we're doing the warm-up.
Superhero
Whoops, I bumped the mic.
Chicken Fest.
This is where we mess up and go on lots of tangents.
Unlike
Alright.
the main podcast, which will have 0 tangents, I've been told.
Kyle.
What I believe that means is I'm going to get 80% cut out.
All right, Kyle, go ahead and start the intro.
Okay. Hi, patrons. I don't know if that works anymore because they might not be giving on Patreon anymore.
They're still patrons. That's what a patron is.
That's a good point. Hi, patrons. This is the new bonus podcast, Oops All Tangents. It is our warm-up for Superhero Chicken Fest. We're going to go for half an hour before we actually record those episodes, and then we're going to publish them here as a separate podcast for exclusively people donating money to us. I don't know
Wow.
how much yet. I haven't picked the tier.
At least $1.
At least $1. Probably higher
Probably
than that, though.
at least $5.
Yeah. But we got to
Maybe-
come up with... We haven't figured out the new reward tiers yet as of now. So we have to figure that out. But this will be
Oh, yeah.
one of them. Maybe it could be the... I mean, it could replace the Hangout, maybe.
It's just like hang out with us, right?
It's similar. Yeah, it's kind of like a similar concept, I guess.
Listen, it doesn't matter. Like, basically, no
without
matter
any-
what happens when you're hanging out with us, it ends up on a rambling tangent about superheroes. So,
Usually, yeah, when we're in Discord. And this time... So the main problem with the Hangout is that not everybody can join in because they're at a specific time. So
That's
like only a very
really-
small fragment of the people can join in.
that's
Yeah.
charitable. I think the main problem with the hangouts is that we don't ever do them.
Well... I was ignoring that part.
I
Specific.
guess this can be like the poor man's hangout, where like we don't actually hang out with
This
them.
is the socialized hangout where everybody gets something okay instead of some people getting something good
All right.
and other people
no,
getting
no,
nothing.
No. Establishing rules as of right now for the podcast. No interrupting. Wait till everyone is done with their
Oh, sorry.
sentence before jumping in. Everybody waits until you are done with your sentence before you can jump in. Even if that means there's lulls, I can just edit those out.
Okay.
I
I
feel
can't
like
edit out talking over people, so that's all.
I feel like that means that he who has the best understanding of commas wins.
It depends. Sometimes
Yeah,
I
maybe.
wait for the second part of your comment. It doesn't come.
Right. Well,
I can edit that out. Okay.
Wait, what time is it?
It's 8:30.
it's 8:25.
Okay, so we're going for half an hour
We'll
from
stop
now.
at I guess 8:55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to just start with the first topic then?
No, we're not doing topics.
Oh, I
This
thought
is
we were gonna do the warm up as in like what makes a superhero.
No, we're not. There aren't topics on this one. This is to get all the
Oh.
tangents
Listen.
out of our system so that when we do the actual
How
topic, we
are we
don't.
gonna get tangents out?
We ramble. Ian, what'd you do today?
Today, I thought about SpiderMan a lot.
Why,
pretty
Ian?
Me too. Also, like yesterday and the past year.
Right. Well, so I was watching Infinity War to practice, right? To get my and I forgot, because at the end of Homecoming, he denies the Iron Spider suit, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I forgot that in the middle of Infinity War, kind of apropos of nothing, he gets the Iron Spider suit.
Right.
Because Tony Stark just like shoots it at him because he's dying.
Right.
So that's cool.
That's what you thought about today about Spider-Man?
Well, also, I think Into the Spider-Verse is now out on digital.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to watch it a bunch of times.
Have you seen that there's just a big billboard in San Antonio that has Into the Spider-Verse on it, but it's not an ad for Into the Spider-Verse. It's just like a motivational quote with Into the Spider-Verse.
It's just art?
image on it. Yeah.
Just a fan
It's
billboard.
just a big billboard downtown.
I
I
have
don't
it.
even remember what it says, but it's just the scene with like the two of them like on the building together in their two costumes.
That's nice.
It's gotten that like what's the word? Like it's just that well known now.
Yeah,
that,
it's just that we've reached that spider saturation point.
yeah, which I didn't think was ever going to be a thing. So that's kind of cool.
I need a sequel to the PS4 game soon, before the spider candle burns out for another 20 years.
That just reminded me that I'm like really looking forward to like the new vaporwave aesthetic in movies.
Yes.
Because it like totally brought that out, and I guess I can't really think of another like time when vaporwave was like a thing, but I'm ready for it now. Like I want that sort of retro, like dystopian futuristic.
It's like an 80s thing,
vibe.
right?
Well, it's kind of 70s, 80s,
I mean,
breaching
I thought
into
it was
90s.
90s.
Like Jazz
Oh,
Cup
you're
is
right,
kind of
it is
vaporwave.
90s.
Well, so you have to make the difference between vaporwave, Outrun, and cyberpunk.
No,
And
just group them all together.
The difference is nothing. There isn't one. It's just people. Outrun involves a lot more arcade machines, I think.
Sure, yeah. It just did that so well, and now I'm like
Yeah.
ready for that.
Well, it's also because this is Into the Spider-Verse is the first thing that's using the Paperboy animation aesthetic, right? Properly.
Was it the same?
I don't
I think
the same thing?
it's either not the same thing or it's competing. They're based
don't-
they're based off of similar technologies.
You're talking about the black and white short?
Was it black and white? I don't
Yeah.
know. It was but
The oh wait, maybe I'm thinking. No, I'm sorry. I
I
must
think
be
you're
thinking
thinking
of
the
the
right
wrong
thing.
one.
Yeah,
it's a
it was the
Pixar
black and
pre-short
white
that
Pixar, yeah.
But they said they weren't yet ready to make a full movie out of it. And this is at least on a similar level of cell shaded 3D maquette animation.
Is that the one with the girl on the train?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it is black and white. Maybe I just remember the animation wrong.
It was very similar. It's just that it was 3D figures but animated to look two-dimensional.
Right.
Oh.
And so it may not be the exact same technology, but it's definitely the first time that this has been anime has been doing it for a long time actually.
I was literally
Yeah.
just thinking that.
But they hide it. They don't try and make use of it so much. They just try and make lots of anime is 3D that you just don't think it is.
I actually remember Fairly Odd Parents doing it a few times.
Yeah,
Some of
but
their
not-
Yeah, they
movies.
do.
My mind
Well.
was like absolutely fucking blown when I watched Spirited Away for the first time, outside of all the other reasons. But because they did like the moving background where it's almost like they just sort of like put a texture in the background and then kept everything else like normal. I don't know how to describe it. It's do you know what I'm talking about?
No,
Is this like
exactly.
the flapjack thing?
I don't know what that means.
There's
Yeah, it was. It was kind of like that, except they did it for things like big open spaces like the sky, or like I think there's one point where they're like driving down the road and the trees do it too, and it freaked me out because it was like a different style of animation inside an animated movie, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is impossible.
Supposedly the animator of Yellow Submarine totally forgets how he managed to make the periscopes on the top of the sub 3D. It's like a lost technique, but it worked back then.
Huh. That's a bummer.
I actually remember really early. A really early example of this is the Iron Giant.
Yeah, the Iron Giant has
Yeah.
it.
He was animated, like the robot was animated entirely like that. All the rest
Yeah.
of it wasn't, but like he had the whole weird 3D with the 2D like overlay on it. And
Yeah.
then
Of
also
course.
the Hydra in Hercules, I think was one of the earliest
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I basically have heard that, that technology has been utilized for a long time, but in the instances where they use it the most skillfully, you don't notice it's not 2D.
Right. It's
I
like
know,
background plates.
I know that the Hydra and Hercules and stuff like that is supposed to look three-dimensional to some extent.
Huh.
It's supposed to be very dynamic and
But
in your face.
I watched a breakdown of it for the anime genre, and a lot of the examples they used of good 3D animation, you didn't know at all it was 3D animation. But you'll see something like a very bad crowd render, like where all they're like three of the same people copy and pasted slightly 3D in a lot of anime, because the computers haven't figured out how to make realistic crowds yet, which I thought was interesting. But Into the Spider-Verse is just a whole nother level. My mind was blown at how skillfully integrated everything
Well,
was.
and the other thing about Into the Spider-Verse is that it wasn't afraid to just totally mess around with every regard with color.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like if you've ever actually read Watchmen, reading Watchmen is weird because everything is the wrong color. Like the color, like
Right.
they just totally mess up the palette for like dramatic effect. They're talking like green skies, like purple people. It's all supposed to look like stylized, and it all fits together. It all works, but it's not the right colors. And Spider-Verse does very similar things.
And I noticed that your begleries are on the floor about a foot away from you. Is that so you're not tempted
So I don't
to play
click.
with them?
Yeah. If you also notice that I'm tearing my fingernails apart, that's what I do instead.
You need to get like a squishy thing or something.
Probably.
Just something that doesn't make noise.
Yeah. When I had I had a little like a job interview recently, and I was so nervous that I realized at the end I had to be careful shaking the interviewer's hand because my other hand was completely full of blood from my nails. I just
Jesus.
actually picked my nail beds to the core.
I do that too.
As terrible as
Wow.
the beglery are, it's self-preservation, I promise.
Just wear gloves or something. Would that work?
Yeah, that's like an anime villain.
Fair enough. Well, if you could just like Michael Jackson it, wear one glove on one hand because then you can't pick at
Yeah.
it, nor can you get at the
That's a
other
good
hand.
idea.
Oh, I can
that'll
totally
work.
pick one hand on that.
Well, that's a good point.
Wow. Skillful.
Wait, real quick before we move on from animation, that just reminded me. Have you seen the Kickstarter for Critical Role's
No, I
animated
saw it.
series
Yeah,
yet?
they asked for $75,000 and they just hit 5 million.
Yeah, in one day they hit their first million in the first hour.
God.
I thought you
So-
said they asked for 75,000.
750,000.
Oh,
What do they ask
what
for?
do they
wanna
want? A
do?
million.
Huh?
That's not $1 million.
No, but they hit 1 million in the first hour, and they are now past 5 million in the first 2 days.
They had some really loose stretch goals for up to 3 million.
Yeah.
What are they trying to make?
A cartoon, I think.
Yeah, they were gonna make just an animated short of like a story before the campaign starts, like with the voice actors doing the characters and everything. And so they were gonna use the money to hire an animation studio to make it, and I guess use it to like maybe pitch it or something.
That's so much money. I can't not get mad at that amount of money.
Now
I know
it's
they're
gonna
all
be like an
talented
out
people,
just because.
but
Yeah.
so mad.
The thing that makes me the most mad about budgets is still knowing that Assassin's Creed was $125 million.
What?
It's the worst movie per dollar I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's
But-
actually an interesting. What is the worst movie per dollar? What do you think? What do you think is the worst
Pretty
one?
sure that list exists of like.
Biggest flops, right?
Like,
Yeah.
cool, because it has to do with like, it's not just what's the worst movie, it's what was the most expensive and then fell so far below that.
Right. I think at the time it was made, Waterworld was the most expensive action movie ever made.
Interesting. I
I've
can see
literally
that.
like never heard of that though.
Well, you're an infant, so
I don't know anybody else who's ever heard or like talked
I mean,
about it.
it's only known because it's ridiculous. It's not like in the popular culture memory because it was anything good. It was just occasionally people were like, ha, Waterworld.
When did
and
it
then
come
that's
out?
it.
like 96 maybe. Let's find out.
It was supposed to be a big deal. Apparently it was bad. I haven't actually seen it. I just know about it.
It's kind of
I
fun,
was
but
a
the world
2-year-old.
does not make sense. Like they're constantly fighting over water or I forget. There's gasoline everywhere. They're powering their jet skis off of something. Kevin Costner is smoking cigarettes the whole time. It doesn't make any sense. The whole world is underwater.
Yeah, doesn't that make you like 6 when that movie came out?
1995. I was 4.
Okay.
But my dad liked it or wanted to watch it. It's actually I think it's one of those things. It's kind of got a cult following afterwards. Like it's got a 6.2 on IMDb, a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I've enjoyed movies worse than that.
Have you seen Birds?
The Hitchcock.
No. I think it's just
Do you
called
mean
Birds.
Birdemic? I think that's what you mean when you
I
say
think
that.
that is what I mean, Birdemic. I think you're right. Have you
Birdemic
seen
is-
Birdemic?
No, I've seen the trailer. I
Oh
haven't
my
seen the
god.
movie.
Oh, y'all.
Mixing up birds and Birdemic is
Sometimes
it's like
I
mixing
think
up like Cabernet Sauvignon in a cabinet.
at least they're both movies.
Well, I don't know.
Wow.
That's being generous.
Have you seen it? You need
Isn't
to calm
Birdemic
down.
one of the ones that was supposed to be bad?
That's what they all
Like
say.
It looks like it was
Sharknado,
supposed to
but
be bad.
Birdemic?
So Sharknado was like the first attempt at like making a huge billable movie off of being bad. Like they got they got George R. R. Martin to cameo in one of those.
Right.
It was but the actual like the heyday of bad sci-fi movies involved things like Sabretooth, both of the Sabretooth. There were a couple of them independent of each other. They were like or Pterodactyl or like John Rhys Davies shows up in a lot of them because John Rhys Davies doesn't act in good movies.
If you want it all.
Oh my god.
Madam.
I'm so
Allison,
sorry. It literally, I
Allison.
did everything I could to make sure that didn't happen.
this is
It
a high quality production.
still happened.
That's why we have to take half an hour to
When did
train off
Google,
our rants.
when did Google Images start linking you immediately to videos?
They can't
What?
link. They can't show you the picture anymore.
Can we
Like,
just?
Oh yeah, when you try to click on the picture, it doesn't.
It takes you
doesn't
to the
work.
website now because of Pinterest. Pinterest ruined it.
Honestly, we need to watch.
Wait, what did Pinterest do?
It was, or I think it was Pinterest. They because Pinterest has infected Google Images, right? Mm-hmm. And like if you search Google Images, like 80 of them are from Google Images, but they want everybody to go to Pinterest. It was either
Right.
Pinterest or Giddy. I forget which one of them. But they filed a lawsuit saying that Google had to send you to their website instead of just like giving you the image, like mining the image. I don't know exactly how it
That's
works.
stupid.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you want
it's
to
bad.
save an image from Pinterest, you have to go to Pinterest.
How
You
can
have
anyone
to log into
successfully sue Google for anything?
I think it
That's
was
the
more
part
like
that's least believable about that story.
they just didn't want to bother with it. I forget.
I guess. It didn't actually, but all it made me do was go download a plugin that added the button back in.
Oh, can you do that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did that like on the same day and then forgot that it happened because it didn't change
Wow.
anything.
Also, there's also a download that actually blocks Pinterest from your results,
Oh.
which is great
Really?
because I have never made Pinterest work. You sent me Skyvault Pinterest boards, and I couldn't log into them. It says, you've already logged in. I hadn't.
Oh right, you did have problems with that.
Pinterest sucks. I'm sure it's great, but it sucks.
No,
I like
I like
Pinterest.
Pinterest because I was able to write my master's thesis on Pinterest, like using as an image collecting platform. It was very useful since it has that like link to similar image feature that's stronger than on a lot of other things that do that. So I had to collect images of the late medieval English bedchamber. and it was the best for doing that, even better than all the art programs that like different universities make.
I remember not forcing you, but heavily encouraging you to retag a bunch of those pins as hashtag just had sex. It's like most of them were, but they're like
they were actually like post-coital images.
Yeah.
Merlin's mom and the dragon.
Were these paintings or something? Like what?
They're manuscript illuminations, and also photos of like preserved beds or bedspreads or whatever.
So who are we, guys? We didn't actually introduce ourselves at all.
I'm Allison.
Who's going to be listening to this that doesn't know who we are?
If you're paying without knowing who we are, I'm Ethan.
If they're paying, you're Ethan no matter what. It doesn't matter.
It's really unfair. I don't deserve the
Weird.
credit for what he does.
No.
He should have his own light.
Hi, I'm Ethan. That wasn't
sorry.
that
I think
good.
we're all
It was
Ethan.
better in my head.
We can all be Ethan today.
We're all Ethan.
That's a funny joke about a script you haven't read yet because we haven't made it yet.
So this is going to be one of the Patreon tiers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think probably. I think the $5 one is a pretty good idea because in that way it's sort of like it feels like a somewhat equivalent replacement for the Hangouts.
That'll be cool. We should just make 1,000 inside jokes in this pod.
We used to do that.
Before pod. And that could be so that people can talk about it outwardly in front of other people. And then they're like, oh, I want to get the joke. And they're like, $5 and you can get the joke. And then
That's a better idea than what we
Self
used to do.
itself.
Remember on Old White Noise, we had like the one episode we missed or whatever, and we would talk about the Patagonia special, or I forget what it was.
Oh yeah.
Something about seagulls. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually talked about that publicly. It's been long enough that I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But we kept talking about episode 8 like it existed somewhere.
It didn't.
It never
Yeah.
existed. We just skipped it and
I mean-
accidentally named the podcast the wrong thing. But we kept acting like it was around so that one day the plan was to be like, oh, hey, we just realized we never published episode 8 and we just found that again. And then we were just going to record this obviously fake, ridiculous, like, skit episode that referenced, that, like, matched up to all the weird references we made to it.
The funny thing is, back then, like none of us ever really wanted a podcast. I mean, you did. You're like, let's do a podcast, and we're all like, nah, because we were still in high school. Like,
Yeah.
I was busy like trying not to fail out of high school, and
At the time, I was 100% imitating Robert Benfer and Jason Steele. Those were my
Nice.
only
Yeah,
two
'cause
references.
I remember we did things that we just stole their segments sometimes. Or,
Yeah.
And
they did podcasts, so I was like, we should do podcasts also. That's why we started using Skype, is because they use Skype. That's how I found it.
well, that's worthwhile because otherwise we wouldn't be friends.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, thank you, Robert Benfer. I'm never going to say that again.
I weirdly owe a lot to Robert Benfer for
I know you do, but
for
it's
how
wrong.
little. It is wrong.
Doesn't he live like 20 miles away?
No, he moved to LA.
Okay.
At some point,
But didn't for like 30 years of his life he lived 20 miles away?
he lived in Shirts, like just north of here, for most of his life, and then moved to Austin for a few years while we were there.
don't we like drive out to Shirts every time we get pluckers?
Pretty close, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's like-
Selma. That's where we go.
Selma.
Selma.
I was gonna say though the lost episode idea.
Yeah.
So Magic the Gathering actually did that once.
What?
So there was early on in Magic's history, they just had expansions, right? They didn't. And then later on, they moved on to block sets, where they'd have 3 sets in a row, a big one and 2 small ones, and then they messed with that too. But the 3 sets would all relate to each other, be on the same plane, or have some sort of thematic connection. So there was the Ice Age block was like one of the first times that they like had sort of thematic connections between. It was like really old sets, right? And they had an Ice Age block and they moved on, and so later on they had Cold Snap, which was a modern set. They just kind of decided just for fun they wanted to do a one-off set that was like that harked back to that old pre-modern border set, and so they joked that they found it in the back of a filing cabinet. And for a long time people believed it. Like it was obviously a joke. It's just like, but then people be like, well, you can tell why somebody put it in the back. It wasn't a great set. It was, and people are gonna hate me for that, but that's fine.
Oh, I get it.
Hey, remember we were making a card game? Speaking of,
Yeah. I still want to do that.
yeah, me too.
Like, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's still just been on hold. Like, I haven't, like, it's not done. We didn't stop it or like decide we
Well-
weren't going to do it. We just
Well, we got stuck because we realized it was mathematically impossible to progress.
well, we had ideas of how to fix it. We just did Skyvault for a year instead.
Right, Skyvault ruined everything.
Kind of.
It did. It really did.
Also, everything else is ruining Skyvault. So
Yeah.
we should just pick one. I picked both.
We're not even like close to done with it too. All the shopping around and
Oh,
trying
you
to
know,
get
with the
money
actual
for
product.
it.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but traveling is gonna like.
we at least get
Be
yeah.
fun.
I
It's
feel like that's
not-
going to be a different part of the experience at least. Like once the first episode's done, then we get to see what festivals are like and stuff like that. It feels like it's going to at least feel a little bit different than anything that might come from it.
You submitted it to festivals, right?
We tried submitting it to like 2 before it was finished, but I think it was too unfinished to get picked up.
Most of the deadlines
okay.
before the next year are still during the previous year. So like right now we could probably send in stuff for 2020.
Right.
Like if we
Okay.
send it in now and
Or
it's
like
still
late
not done.
2019.
Yeah,
Maybe
some late 2019 might work. Their
there's
deadlines
not a lot
are really
of winter
early.
festivals. Though,
That's true.
like-
A lot of them are like in the spring, which
Almost all
we
of
are
them
in
are.
now.
Right, or
so-
summer, yeah. Like some, like you, cons is in the summer, right? It's a big deal.
I mean, it's just important because, like, we did promise a series, and at this point, we're going to spend a couple years shipping it out, like, trying to get people
Yeah.
to pick up. Like, it's going to be a whole nother kind of
Yeah.
mess.
Which
in
is frustrating.
itself.
It's always annoying because it's almost like that's what you expect from Kickstarters, but it still feels bad to deliver it that way.
Well, we can always.
Well,
like,
but we changed it.
We did.
So-
We changed out the way we were doing it.
are we going to ship the pilot to people once it's done, or is it one of those like exclusivity contract
I've been
things?
thinking about how we could like sort of like partially fulfill some of the rewards early, so people aren't waiting a full 3 years before they get stuff. Like I
Right.
still want to I want to do a screening of the pilot and go ahead and invite people to that in
Yeah.
addition to whatever we invite them to later. Like do one round of rewards and then maybe a second one once we get the actual show up and running.
At this point, like we're still showing them the fruits of what their money got,
Right.
which is I think more important. Obviously, I still want to make the series, and I mean
Yeah.
that not just because we promised it, like which is important, but also because the best writing I've ever done is locked in a file that's doesn't have like episodes 2 through 12 are all gold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I definitely still am excited to get working on it. I just want to make sure that like it's annoying to like give to a Kickstarter and then have to wait for like half a decade to get stuff back from it.
I
so
waited for 3 years to get my double 6 dice, and you know what? They're fine.
people waited a long time to get the guards themselves stuff too. That's for sure.
Right. Did you know that Star Citizen is really actually entirely playable now?
Yeah,
I mean, it's as
I've heard
playable
that
as
before.
anything. It has a single player campaign,
Yeah.
and it's got. I think it's got.
Is it good?
I supposedly, as far as that genre goes, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, is that genre like I don't know what I was expecting from it really.
I was still kind of excited until I found Elite Dangerous, and that fulfilled basically everything
Right.
I was looking for out of
Well-
Star Citizen.
You also still have the VR setup.
The VR setup helps a lot.
I don't know if Star Citizen is VR compatible or not, but how is this gonna be released? Is this gonna be like on the website? With
Yeah,
password protected?
I'll probably have Louis like make a separate podcast that you can't access or see unless you are donating on a certain tier.
Right. Okay. Well, I want to see if people can comment on it and tell us how wrong we are about Star Citizen.
Yeah, I think we are. We're gonna add comments at least to the overall podcast. I don't know if we'll do it per episode, but we'll do
we
it to like
should.
just to the podcast page at least. I haven't really decided how we're gonna do that yet. That's gonna be one of the next steps is figuring out how to reorganize all the videos and podcasts and everything.
Cool. I just noticed that we could watch Sesame Street streaming. Let's do it. Let's cut
On
this.
HBO.
Oh.
Did Sesame Street take a turn? I'm not aware
I'm gonna
of.
say HBO Sesame Street is like. Is that the one where we're
Yikes.
it's not Groucho. Oscar the Grouch like steps on an HIV needle or something. Like
Jeez.
I feel like there's a whole genre of fake Sesame Street related news.
there is.
My personal trainer was just complaining because now they have the first homeless Sesame Street character. But like, Oscar.
Yeah, but he had a home. It wasn't a great home, but it kept him out of the rain.
If you're living in a trash
feel
can, I'm
like-
pretty sure that
Okay,
counts as
But
homeless,
have you ever
right?
seen what happened? What's underneath the trash can? It's just a ladder down into like a full like Patrick Star
True.
setup.
I forgot about that. He does have like the
Oh,
whole
really?
weird underground. Yeah, he's got like a
Oh.
grouch cave or something underneath the trash can.
To be fair, I think that was entirely put there so he wasn't homeless.
That makes sense.
Huh. That's interesting. I know Sesame Street is supposed to exist for kids who, like, it's made for kids who don't get stimulation from other places, who might have their parents working full time and don't have any kind of education going in the home. I mean, it's for
Huh.
everyone, but you know, it was like designed for those people. So
I
I'm
never
wondering
liked
how
it.
those type
What?
of situations.
Yeah.
What do you mean you never liked it?
I
'cause
wasn't a
you're
big
strange.
Sesame Street fan.
That's you can't. That's not a valid sentence.
I don't understand. I liked Barney and Barbie. Like, those were the only shows I watched as a
Sesame
kid.
Street is
I don't
is
know what
Sesame
to
Street.
I
It's
don't know what to tell
objectively like great. You can't not like it. It's a universal truth.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying I was a weird kid.
It did give us Elmo's World, which I couldn't take or leave.
Yun, make sure every one of her edge meters is like at least 10 from now on, just
I'm
because of the
so-
fact that she didn't like Sesame Street when she was a kid.
This is kind of like, I mean, okay, so hot debate topic. Is it worse to not like Sesame Street or like my roommate, the Kirk, not like SpongeBob?
No,
No,
not liking
definitely-
SpongeBob makes sense.
It's
like-
definitely worse to not like Sesame Street.
You think?
It's
Yeah, my
too
mom
wholesome.
hated
It's
SpongeBob.
just it's
Well,
just part of like people's
Elmo's
lives
so
growing
annoying.
up.
He's only a tiny part of it.
Okay. Well, they're all kind of annoying in their own way. The only one I remember actually.
You cannot dislike anything Jim Henson like ever made. It's just
You know
not.
what though? That blue one right there on the far left.
Grover.
Grover had a book. It was something about.
Oh, the
something like
monster
the
book.
monster.
Yeah,
That was my favorite.
There's a monster
book.
at the end of this book.
Yeah,
that
the
one was
monster at the
great.
end of this book. That was my favorite book for like 5 years.
Okay,
like
well,
up
then you
until
like
I was
Sesame
10.
Street. You're just wrong.
Okay,
You're
I
wrong
never
about
I
your
never watched
preferences.
this show or liked. I didn't like the puppetiness. I didn't like a Big Bird.
Do you not like the Muppets either?
I did like the Muppets. I don't know what to tell you. I like
You're
the
just too
Muppets.
edgy.
I guess
Yeah.
Maybe you are the person for whom like HIV Oscar is invented.
Yikes. I don't know
That's
how
why
to feel
they're
about
branching out with the HBO Muppet
that. I
series.
like the Muppets.
Cookie Monster is an actual addict.
There's
The
that.
count counts his victims.
It's depressing.
I think I like everything Sesame Street except for the show. Like I also liked the individual interviews with like when they would get celebrities on to talk to like Cookie Monster or whatever. I used to like those kind of things.
That was the show.
I thought
they had
Sesame
celebrity
Street. No,
guests, and
Sesame
they would,
Street.
like-
No, that's like the no. It was like
I think they spiraled
it
out
would just
in a
be
bunch of-
it was like one room with a gray wall and it was a person and then either Elmo or Cookie Monster or
Yeah.
something and they would just ask him questions.
That was part of the show.
Was it
Right.
part of the show?
There are segments in Sesame
Yeah.
Street.
The
like there's
actual-
like a main thread and there's like a number and letter of the day that run through the episode and they're like little commercial type things that are
It's
like
a skit
little
show.
segments.
You know what this is reminding me of?
What?
Have you seen the Count video? Where they
Which-
bleep out.
unnecessarily. A
Oh my
censored
god,
count.
that's I literally it's one of the few videos I can actually remember like making me cry. I was like rolling on the floor in pain laughing so hard at that video when it first came out. It was so unexpected at the time. How are we doing?
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, getting close to the end.
Yeah,
I
we
can't remember
are.
if I had anything else Sesame Street or Muppet related to say, but oh wait, no. The thing I was gonna say was that Kirk is wrong about everything also, and SpongeBob is still great.
Okay, all right,
Just,
sure.
just to make sure that's established.
What's hilarious is Kirk has to pay to hear that.
He knows we think that.
My mom wouldn't let us watch SpongeBob if she was in the room.
Wow, so she was a neglectful parent. She,
It was a whole, she was like, I cannot stand the way he sounds. Like it's grating. Like
See, my mom was the same way, but only with Naruto. She,
No, I never watched it.
She hated the screaming, and she hated the dramatic organ music that would come on anytime Naruto did something.
That's pretty real. I was only allowed to watch little kid TV when I was a teenager because of my little brothers. So
Oh no, that's terrible.
it actually, I think it stunted my ability to deal with serious media. I get like very upset over Daredevil. Like if I watch 2 episodes, I'm like,
well,
I actually totally get that. My parents were very protective about what we watched also, and for the most part, I think it was fine. Like I think sometimes for the because there were people that were. There were like kids in my elementary school that were like watching horror movies.
Right.
And
Oh,
even as an
yeah.
elementary school kid, I was like, that doesn't seem right.
yeah.
well,
like Saw, no thank you. I'm
Yeah.
12. Like what?
I remember because this is one of the things we share in common.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
see
But how do we?
You mentioned at one point that your first rated R movie was The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
That was rated R.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a soft R compared to like R-rated movies now.
Right.
Like
Is there sex in it?
no,
no, not
no,
the second
not in the
one.
first one. They
No.
said like a few curse words and there was some violence, and then there's the weird part with the CGI bug crawling into Keanu Reeves' belly button.
I think that's back when they pretended that violence still counted
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Did you know? Speaking of, there is no reason that Star Wars, like the original A New Hope, isn't rated G, except that Lucas didn't want it to be rated G because he was afraid people would think it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
It's actually like a real struggle though.
That is a thing nowadays. Like
microphone is
people don't go and no, there are no G movies anymore because people don't go see them in theaters.
Right.
Because if something gets labeled a G movie, it's like I don't know. It's like a direct-to-DVD Barbie movie or something. That's pretty much the only G movies I think that
Right.
exist now.
You know, the 1960 Cleopatra movie with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton is rated G. And she's like naked in the whole
Yeah,
thing.
the standard changed a lot.
Because it's like the MPAA is just like 5 people in a room, right? Like,
No, oh god, that was one of my favorite documentaries I ever watched. It's like 12 people. They're
Right.
all white. They're all somewhere between like 38 and 54, and they have absolutely no background or understanding of film. They all
just
do
like-
entirely different things.
it's basically just like legitimized mommy blogs.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Sick.
absolutely ridiculous. Like, they have no reason. That was such a good. I learned so much from that documentary, and I can't find it anywhere. It's just gone.
I've heard of it before. I never watched it, but I've heard of it.
It was so good. They like go into depth about like how crushing it is to be in the film industry when like you have to like force your way into a certain rating just to make sure that you can like get any kind of attention. It was
Right.
really interesting.
Well, that's like
So,
one of the biggest deals about Deadpool is that it was such a huge hit and rated R. Because typically you don't want to hit R because you cut your profit a lot.
Yeah.
Because you cut your audience into a quarter. Like
Yeah.
even people who are old enough to see R-rated movies typically, like, it's not uncommon to just not, because they don't want to be seeing that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
like Deadpool being that big is a huge deal.
Yeah.
I remember also there was a bit on snakes on a plane. They sent snakes on a plane to get rating, and they the rating board sent it back telling them to add more gratuitous violence.
What?
Because they were already above the R limit, and they're like, you could go way further with this. So they did.
Wow. That's a good place to end that, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll have another one of these up in another couple of weeks, along with the Superhero Chicken Fest. I guess we'll just publish them at the same time. Just whenever we publish a Superhero Chicken Fest, one of these will also be up. Yeah, I guess Oops All Tangents. It'll be a new podcast, visible only to
Oops All
people that
Tangents.
are either donating on Patreon or on the website, and we'll have Louis hook that up so that it actually works.
And I would say don't tell anybody, but tell everybody this is the better podcast.